The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Hi, everybody. Ooh, Andy.
What's that, Phil?
Oh, Andy.
What's that?
Well, I got a couple of things that I have to tell you. First of all, it's Friday.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I love Friday. I love Friday.
It's a good day.
My favorite part about Friday is, as I say, it's Friday. It's not really Friday, because you all are watching this and listening to this on Friday, but Friday's my day off. And you know what I'm not doing? Recording a podcast. So when I say it's Friday, I'm going to listen to this at some point and be like, that's right, Friday. Didn't have to actually work on Friday.
Nice.
Number dos. You beat me to the punch, but we're going to have to talk about this soon. It's not going to be today, but it's going to be soon and for the rest of your life.
What is that?
Gravity in IMAX 3D.
Whatever you thought about it, I'm glad you saw it in IMAX 3D.
Me too, Andy Roth. I mean, I'll immediately in my top 5 movies of the year. Immediately.
Love it.
And I went in way more skeptical than you, as you know.
It's true.
And while there are movies that I think I have enjoyed more, this is a movie that I'm going to, show in, Bible classes. I'm going to use this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I am now, saying that Alfonso Cuarón is becoming, I haven't seen all of his movies, but from what I've seen, Just Children of Men and this, he is becoming the great mythological storytelling filmmaker of our generation.
Interesting.
That's a lot of qualifiers, and I recognize that. I'm gonna tweak and work on this classification over time and figure out the best way to describe him. But both Children of Men and Gravity are him dealing with grand, large-scale myth making.
That's true.
And deep symbolism, and it's very exciting. I'm very excited. What else can I say? I'm very excited.
Absolutely. I love that you loved it.
Sandy Bullock, Oscar-worthy performance.
Yes.
Will she get nominated? I don't know. I don't care. Just the term, Oscar-worthy. She deserves recognition for what she's done.
I'd be stunned if she weren't nominated, because people have been talking about this movie.
It is
for
strange,
months.
though, that if she won, she'd be 2-time Oscar Award winner Sandy Bullock. That's weird to me.
I don't disagree with you.
But you know what, though? I liked her in Blindside. Kind of a weird movie to win an Oscar for.
Agree. Yes. I still think, and this could not be a more navel-gazing exercise we're doing right now. I still think the line, forms behind...
It's Kate Blanchett and then everybody else, right?
Yes. I
have heard nothing but that.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk about, again, I think we need to have Daniel Carlson on, and we need to talk a little bit more about what happens, that line, we've talked about separating the art from the artist.
Mm-hmm.
More stuff has emerged about Woody Allen that just makes me really uncomfortable about him. And I don't mean to be, I swear to you I'm not trying to be judgy pants. I don't mean to be judgy pants. I really don't. I don't mean to be. I'm not saying I'm not being.
Maybe Judgy Boots? Do you mean to be like Judgy Boots?
Maybe Judgy Socks.
Sure, right. Yeah.
All right, Andy, I'm just delaying because we have so much good stuff happening today. We need to talk about it.
I got to be honest, Phil. I'm delaying with you, and the reason, I'm right there with you. There's so much. Where do we start? But also, after finishing, even though we're doing it again next week with Machete Kills, after finishing Project Moe, I'm adrift. I don't
even know who I am anymore.
There's nothing.
I was like, when this is over, I know that it's gonna be over, and that's fine. And I thought I was looking forward to it, but now I'm like, but who do I watch, to a crazy degree, for fanatically for the next, compulsively for the next year? I don't know. I don't have an answer. I'm a ship without a rudder. I'm a ship without a rudder. I'm a dog without a bone. I'm a horse without a bridle.
That got weird. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit like I'm Frodo on the slopes of Mount Doom. I can't recall the taste of food, nor the sound of water, nor the
smell of strawberries.
Yeah, the touch of grass. I can't do it.
Well, Andy, you know what? That's good for you, because I'm like Samwise Gamgee on the side of the Mountain of Doom. And you know what? If you can't go any further, I'll carry both of us.
Awesome. I love it. I love it.
I'll remember for both of us. Andy, don't worry. Strawberries are delicious. I still remember.
It's
I
true.
got it covered. I got
It's
it covered.
true.
This is coming from a guy. By the way, it was raining today in Southern California, and I left work early and bought a box of Milk Duds and got into bed and ate them.
I love it.
So I'm not sure I'm a person that should guide anyone to anything. I think maybe, just maybe, you should run from me at all costs at the fastest of speeds.
Well, first, before everyone runs from you and into their weekend, how about we tell them the wonderful things we have to tell them today? Yeah?
I think, first of all, this opening this week, Machete Kills, and then a bunch of other stuff.
Clearly.
I'm not actually that excited about Machete Kills, and I'm going to say machete every time because that's what they say it in the movie. But machete just doesn't sound the same anymore. Machete Kills. But it's got Mel Gibson in it.
Yes.
So I'm seeing it.
As was.
Dear God, this weekend I'm seeing it.
I know.
Oh.
I know.
And I just say, oh.
I will see your and raise you a yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So he's absolutely right, folks. Phil is correct. Not the first time, won't be the last. Machete Kills. I hate and love that I say that way now because of you. It isn't because they say it that way in the movie in the trailer. It's because of you.
I'm sorry, and you're welcome.
I appreciate both of those things. Machete Kills. Captain Phillips.
Oh boy.
Tom Hanks basically saying to Matthew McConaughey, "Oh, you thought you had the best actor sewn up this year? Well, what's up, big guy?"
There was an article in Grantland. If y'all don't know what Grantland is, it's a website that both Andy and I frequent. It's a pop culture / sports website. It's one of those things that I like to start by being like, it's not that great, which belies the fact that I'm on it every day because I have to be critical. But the things that I like about it, I love about it. The things that I like about it, I love about it.
Sure.
What I really mean is I'm not interested in every single article they write. But the pop culture stuff, the movie stuff, I have come to really respect Andy Greenwald as a thinker. He's a TV writer. But one thing they do is they do this thing called the YouTube Hall of Fame. And they do clips of, they'll pick an actor, and each writer, or from their stable of writers, will pick a clip from one of the movies of that actor and mention why they picked it and what's so special about it.
Awesome.
And they did Tom Hanks this week. And it began by saying, Tom Hanks, arguably the most beloved actor of our American actor of our time. And I was like, arguably? I would say inarguably. I would say undisputed.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
There is Tom Hanks.
I would say
there is everybody else.
I would say the most beloved actor since Jimmy Stewart.
Yes.
More than John Wayne. More than
and he
Humphrey
fits,
Bogart.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Humphrey Bogart was beloved like after the fact.
Yep.
During the time, it wasn't that he wasn't loved. He was very respected. The other thing is, he has what Jimmy Stewart has. There are people that are loved, like Johnny Carson was beloved, Bob Hope was beloved,
right?
But neither of them were really considered great actors.
Right.
You are absolutely correct in talking about him in the same breath as Jimmy Stewart because they are beloved.
Yep.
And recognized as great actors.
Right. Right. Yes.
Although, frankly, Jimmy Stewart should have a few more Oscars, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, yes.
Anyways,
right.
Andy, what else? Captain Phillips.
Romeo and Juliet with Haley Steinfeld and some really, really, really pretty boy who I don't know. I've never seen him in anything.
You know, this world just needs another adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. In other news, this weekend I'm getting another hole in my head.
Look, again, if only to wipe away my memory of seeing that cinematic
Romeo plus Juliet
poop stain. Romeo plus Juliet. Somehow.
I have such mixed feelings about Romeo plus Juliet. I mean, I hated it. Don't get me wrong. Most of it is hate.
Here's the deal.
But
he took amazing actors and they gave amazing performances.
They
and it's
did.
Still a terrible movie.
I want all of the rough footage of that movie.
Yes.
And I want to recut it, like, not on drugs. Not on Ritalin, right? Like
Right.
that kid who illegally bought Ritalin and crushed and snorted it because he was studying for the SATs. That's like that, or for his Romeo and Juliet test tomorrow. That's what this movie's like.
Indeed. Yes.
But I do love. But the chemistry between Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes is phenomenal.
Yes. And Leguizamo, and yes,
Yeah.
they're all great.
Okay.
And then
Moving
real quick, we're almost done, because that's it for wide releases. And I'm not actually sure how wide Romeo and Juliet the release is, but whatever. 2 limited releases, All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. I will eventually see it. And Escape from Tomorrow, the
movie that was illicitly filmed in Disneyland,
Indeed.
completely undercover without Disneyland somehow finding out. And then they're allowing it to be released, and I think that's a good call on their part,
Yep.
and I think that is literally the only thing this movie has going for it. I hope it's good. I don't
It's true. I read a review today that said the third act of this movie is so weird David Lynch would wonder what was going on. I'm really not sure.
I almost did a
feel about
spit take just then.
There you go.
A spit take, Andy Rod.
Don't start drinking because you're about to do another spit take. Well, you're probably not, but you'll be really excited for me. One that is not really coming out anywhere this weekend, except for Durham, North Carolina, and I will be seeing it as you watch this on Friday, folks. This evening, Short Term 12.
Thank God. Thank
So
you.
excited.
I may see it again on Friday just in solidarity with you.
I love it.
I will be
that.
seeing it again. It is my favorite movie of the year.
I love
if
this.
if it isn't, it's because Mud is. But it is. Those are neck and neck.
And that's a great neck to be.
Can I just
near.
say, Brie Larson?
Yeah.
Just what an
Uh,
amazing performance
yes.
she gives in this film. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So what else? Talk to me. What else?
We're done. That's it.
Okay.
That's what's coming out.
Fantastic.
Oh, at some point over this week, not released on a Friday, because that happens in October ever.
Oh boy.
The latest Child's Play movie, Curse of Chucky or whatever. You know what? I like that Jennifer Tilly's getting work. I don't even know if she's in it, but I'm just going to assume.
I like Jennifer Tilly.
Sure. And Brad Dourif is great.
Brad Dourif is fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh, Andy, watch Deadwood. You know he's on Deadwood, right?
No!
He's one of the major characters in Deadwood. He plays a doctor.
Oh my god.
Who is... Deadwood is like Friday Night... Okay, you know how on Friday Night Lights... Do you know who the hottest actress on Friday Night Lights is?
All of them?
Whichever one is in the camera on that given moment. Like when you're watching... And if you think I'm being a terrible person, I might be, but I'm not being wrong. And my wife agrees with me, basically. I mean, she wouldn't call them hot, but she recognizes the reality of the situation. When you're watching, you're like, wow, Adrienne Palicki is the most beautiful woman who ever lived. And then she walks off the screen, and Minka Kelly comes on, and you're like, nope, Minka Kelly is, in fact, the most beautiful woman on the screen. And then whatever the daughter is comes on, and you're like, no, actually, she's pretty gorgeous. Yep. And then Connie Britton shows up, and you're like, 20 years older than all of them, and just taking it down.
Just devastating them.
Just devastatingly gorgeous. And it is when they're all on the screen at once. You're like ping 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 ping, like your eyes are like a pinball and you don't know what's happening. I think it's sort of like those people who are having seizures in Japan from the colors. That's what it's like when you watch. Now, Deadwood is like this, not with hot women, but and again, that somehow makes it sound like Deadwood or that Friday Night Lights is exploitative, and we know it's not exploitative. All the women that I described as attractive also happen to be such good actors. Yes. They're so good. The show's so amazing. So I'm not taking anything away from the equality of Friday Night Lights.
Yes.
But Deadwood is like grimy and dirty. Your favorite character on Deadwood is usually whichever one is doing something at that given moment.
I love it. I'm
ready for you to watch it again, and I'm ready to watch it with you.
Awesome. I love it.
That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. Brad Dourif, Chucky, blah, blah, blah. What's next?
So what I'll say is this. Going off of your... like you're not taking anything away from their acting ability or how good they are on Friday Night Lights by saying they're attractive. Folks, you will know if you have listened to any of these podcasts or met me or thought about anyone named Andy before in your life, that I used to be an actor in New York City. And I grew to hate it because it is a terrible life. My apologies for my friends watching this who are doing it, you're living a terrible life. I have pity for you. I want you to be successful.
Yeah.
But it's awful. And I realized that, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And everybody kept telling me, like, oh, you should be a voice actor. You have a nice speaking voice. And so I was like, I'll give that a shot. And so I got a coach, and he was the weirdest dude I had met in a long time. And he said to me, and this is the kind of thing he would say to me, just like off the cuff. He was like, Andy, if you have the choice, and like everybody's the same amount of talent, if you have the choice between working with someone who's attractive and working with someone who isn't attractive.
Come on.
I mean,
Every time.
I always say it's better to work with someone who's attractive. And I was like,
Yeah.
I have no way to disagree with you, Steve. Okay.
Steve gets it.
Steve gets it. Steve, he certainly does.
Steve, whatever you're doing it right.
That's right. That's right.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. That was useless. I didn't mean to do that. All right.
I loved it anyway. Shall we move on?
Please talk to me.
So let's move on to our main topic of the podcast.
Perfect.
And I thought you'd like it. And once a month,
it would be bad if I was against it.
like I abstain. Well, I'll just.
It's going to be all Andy. I'm just going to sit back and watch because I never really wanted to talk about this.
45-minute soliloquy. It's going to be really awkward for everybody. Just settle in, ease into it. But once a month, we of the movie persuasion decide to delve into the baser art of television in a segment we call I don't even believe that. I don't even believe what I just said.
It is a lesser art though.
Okay, fair
I'm
enough.
not going to say baser, but I'll say lesser.
Okay, all right, fair enough. The segment we call TV Dinner. So TV Dinner, it is
because we're going to talk about television. That's why.
And we have a meal-themed podcast title.
What?
I know. I
man.
know. I got to
just
be
got
honest,
that.
Phil. We're not. We got to pick up the energy, man. We're already
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo! Hey Andy. First question.
Yes.
First question. Is there a show that you've been watching anything new?
No.
Oh, because you can't because you don't have real television.
Good talk.
What a waste of time.
I am
Just
keeping
move to the
up-
next topic.
I am keeping up with How I Met Your Mother, which I surprisingly don't hate quite as much as I thought I would. And I am almost keeping up with Parenthood. I've watched only one episode, but I'm going to watch the rest this weekend, and
Awesome.
and that's exciting. I'm going to start watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and frankly, The Walking Dead when it comes back. But other than that, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
fine.
I've been catching up on my old shows that I like, and New Girl's right in
Yes.
hitting its stride.
And New Girl. Right. I have to. Is it back yet?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
They're 3 episodes in. I'm a big
right.
fan of Mindy Project. It is. Everybody says it's a mess. They're probably right. I don't really care. I love it. I love it.
It's your kind of mess.
They
That's
clearly are trying to figure out what they're doing, but they're so good at being funny while they're trying to figure it out that I just don't care.
fantastic. I love it. I love that.
And there's a couple other shows that I'm trying out, but we'll see. I'm not even gonna mention them right now.
Nice. So, folks,
Forget.
what we're going to talk about today is basically what we just talked about, the process of, starting to watch a new show and continuing to watch shows, or stopping watching a show that you have watched in the past.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned How I Met Your Mother just a minute ago, because I gave up on that show 4 seasons ago, or 3. Either 3 or 4 seasons ago, I gave up
And
altogether.
months ago, someone asked us a question during the mailbag, which we'll get to later, folks. Don't worry. It was a question about hate watching, and even though it was a movie, we were answering about movies. The first thing that came to my mind was how I feel when I watch How I Met Your Mother. So do with that information whatever you will. And yet, I have actually genuinely enjoyed at least a total of 45 seconds over the 3 or 4 episodes I have watched. So
That's not a lot of time, Andy.
I know, but it's more than the entirety of the last season, Phil.
Oh boy, I'm so glad I gave that up.
Oh,
I'm so glad I gave it up.
Here's why I'm bringing it up. Because all of those moments there have been funny moments, and there have been truly. Remember when it was funny and romantic? Both
Yes.
of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Stunningly, after bleeping around for seasons without end on a show called How I Met Your Mother, all of the best moments in this season
Say it.
have involved the mother.
Love that. Love to hear that.
Yes, she
Love
is
to hear that.
adorable,
'Kay.
and as an actress, and the actress has chops. So
Well, that's good.
yay.
That's good. I'm happy for that. This is a show I gave up on, and it's funny because earlier tonight we were over at some friend's house and we were watching old Simpsons Halloween episodes.
Awesome.
The Simpsons is the definition of the show that I turned my back on. But really, I feel like it turned its back on me first. And
I think
that's how
fair.
that's how it's time. That's when it's time for me. Well, there's two different shows. There's shows you give up on because you're like, you know what? I just don't have the time.
Yo,
I don't care. I'm not a huge fan. But the problem with me is I'm like I always was, whatever the opposite of a commitment phobe is. Like, I'll watch one episode of something and be like, no, I have to watch all of them. And it
me
takes
too.
forever to realize that I don't love it. And then it takes me even longer to get rid of it out of my life. But
there was
but
a
the
moment.
Simpsons.
So,
the
no,
Simpsons.
please.
Well, The Simpsons was the defining show of my upbringing. It was the most important show, television show. It was appointment TV. It was on a level. When I was in high school, when I moved, the best thing was when I moved between my sophomore and junior year, I moved back to New Hampshire. And New Hampshire would get Boston channels. But where I lived in New Hampshire would get Boston channels, but it would also get Manchester channels. And so there was a point during the summer where the weeknights I would get 3 separate Simpsons reruns in one evening. And I would watch all 3.
Awesome.
And I would be and I'd watch it with friends. And I used to have them all on video cassette. I used to have tapes that I'd put onto like the EP, so as long as possible extended play on the tape.
Right.
It would have I would have 5 hours on one tape, and then I'd watch it over and over again. It would start to get all because that's how much I watch The Simpsons. So when The Simpsons went bad, I took it personally.
Sure.
And I held on for about a season and a half, 2 seasons, and then
You just couldn't do it.
yeah, and so now I'm bitter.
It's totally fair.
I'm an angry person when people talk about it. But I was watching tonight, and Andy, it was like the old ones, and I was laughing so hard. And there were actually jokes I'd forgotten,
Awesome.
and it was just killing me. I was like, oh, that's right. And I wasn't mad. I was just pure bliss, happy as a clam. So
There was a moment. That's wonderful. There was a moment freshman year of college when my roommate. I had earlier classes than he did pretty much every day, and I also, unbeknownst to me, well, no, I guess I knew that I snored, but I didn't know that I had sleep apnea that was death snore that could cause someone's eardrums to explode.
right.
And there was a moment most of the way through the school year where I woke up, and I always woke up, and I always went to the dining hall and had breakfast. And I woke up, and I don't know why it took me this long. I was like, I don't have to have breakfast in the morning before my early class. And my roommate was like, of course you don't. From the other side of the room. It was pretty special.
Nice.
So,
Wait, what made you think of that?
how do you know when it's time to let go of a show?
Ah,
See what I did there?
I like it. I like it.
So I want to talk about a show that engendered such goodwill during its first season that when it very nearly came off the rails in its second season, I stuck with. And most people I know stuck with. And it rewarded that. And that show is Friday Night Lights. Now I want to start. So, what's that?
I want to hear what you have to say about it. I am one of the people who does not actually feel like it came off the rails during the second season, and will fight that point, but I don't need to fight it right now. I want to hear your story.
Okay. I was at a hockey game tonight. And a friend of mine, who got these extraordinary tickets. We were talking movies and TV, which is weird because I never do that.
What?
What? And so we were talking about shows, and I forget what led us into it, but I was like, have you seen Friday Night Lights? He's like, no, I haven't. And I was like, Chris, get your life together and see Friday Night Lights. Like, I know. Now, his wife, who is also a friend of mine, I recently, and by recently I mean in the past, 6 months maybe, I don't remember exactly when, I recommended Veronica Mars to her, and I lent her. I very, very rarely lend out the DVDs that I own. I'm paranoid about it. And
Right.
But I say, if you want to watch it, come over at 3 a.m. Just shoot me a call, and we'll watch whatever you want to watch. Second Breakfast Nation, that goes for you too. Shoot me a text.
Hey, Second Breakfast Nation, if you ever want to watch a movie at my house, no, that's not okay.
And yet again, I pull ahead of Phil in the which one do you love more sweepstakes.
I hope everyone loves you more. You're a better person.
That's not true. Okay, so like my currency with this couple should be like at an all-time high right now, because she's nuts about Veronica Mars, she's nuts about Kristen Bell in general, and so what I said to him was, I said, you will love Friday Night Lights. The both of you will love Friday Night Lights as much as Sarah loves Veronica Mars, or
Right.
more.
Right.
It's like, okay. So here's the deal. I know he's listening. I know he's either listening or watching. Chris, Sarah, watch Friday Night Lights.
Oh my gosh, please
Thank
do.
you.
And there. So here's the thing. There are people who go, oh, that second season, blah 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 blah. Okay, look. We're all talking about one thing that happened on second season, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Aren't we?
Yeah.
It's literally one thing that happened that everyone objects to.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, and it was a big thing that happens.
Right.
But I maintain that it was as if the gods of television, which is not our God, not my God, not the God of perfection who created all the world, but like the Greek gods of television, Greek gods could be mistaking things and making mistakes all the time, right? The gods of television came down and handed a bad plot point to a nearly perfect television show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just there in the middle of this perfect television show was this really bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I acknowledge that. But I maintain that because the writers are so good and the actors are so good, that they basically said, how can we make this really bad idea as palatable and realistic as possible? And everything that came after it, to me, works. Like, it's a bad idea. But first of all, other than being ridiculous, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But never boring.
You're right.
Never boring, never poorly acted. There were still phenomenal things in the second season.
Oh, yeah.
And I wouldn't give up second season for anything. So I find it funny when people say that, like, oh, it's just terrible. No, it actually isn't. I'll take the second season of Friday Night Lights over the best season of many, many, many shows.
Agreed.
If they had all done that, if it had kept going in that direction, we would have been in trouble.
It's true. Can I respond?
Please.
Because that's actually exactly how I feel. When I say it went bad or whatever, I honestly have already forgotten the wording that I used. What I mean is
you said that
this.
it looked like it was coming off the rails, which I understand. Continue.
I either said it looked like or that it actually was.
Right.
And I stick by that when you compare it to the rest of the show.
Sure.
But I have said exactly, not using your words, but I have expressed exactly the same sentiment. There was something that was bad. Here's the thing that upsets me most about that moment in Friday Night Lights is that it's the only thing in 5 seasons of the show that smacks of like network interference.
Yep.
But they did it truly and honestly as well as it could possibly be done.
Right.
Because
That's the thing.
That's what Friday Night Lights does. It takes something and it does it as well as it could possibly be done.
It's really the greatest thing, that show.
Chris and Sarah Battles, get your lives together.
Chris and Sarah Battles, seriously get your lives together.
Yeah. So So that was sort of a. But
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Is there a show that you've ever given up on for reals that you liked, like legitimately were watching, following, paying attention to, and you called it and said, "I'm done"?
House.
Really
Yes.
interesting. When? At what point? Do you remember?
Late.
Was there a specific?
Late.
Okay.
I don't remember how many seasons, but it was like the second to last season or something like that.
So you suffered through the whole. What's the name of that character actor that I love? David. You know who
Morse.
I'm talking about.
David Morse.
So you suffered through the whole David Morse plot
I
line,
did.
which was so I actually bailed during that plot line.
Sure.
And then came back to the show a season later.
Right.
I bailed at that show in the middle of the show, and then came back and was like, "I missed you, House."
Yeah. No.
But see, the funny thing about House is, I never loved it, but I watched every single episode when I was watching it because it
Okay.
fulfilled something for me. If you ever told me to list a list of my favorite, which what we've done on the show, I would never consider to say House.
Right.
And yet, but like my wife and I, it would be like, okay, we knew that by and large, there was going to be an hour, there was going to be a problem, he'd solve it, and he'd also say a lot of clever and mean things, and there would be at least one really pretty person,
Right.
and I'm like, that's great for me. I'm all set. So shows that actually do the what do they call that? Episodic television shows.
Procedural.
Yes.
Both, but yes.
I need one of those shows on my roster at all times.
Sure.
And actually, but you know what's been fulfilling that need for me lately since House left?
What's that?
Reality television. But I stick to The Voice and
Okay.
Project Runway. Both are contests. Both have people who are actually talented, and both have people that I actually like on them. But like,
Okay.
it's not like I'm watching Honey Boo Boo or no. But I mean, like, people say reality television's terrible, and I'm like, I get what you mean.
Right.
Except the stuff that's not. I mean, except the
Right.
stuff that's essentially game shows is really what they are.
Right. I mean, look, everything is terrible except for the things that aren't. Like you know, everything is great except for the things that aren't. Like
Everything that's terrible except for Tim Gunn, because he is.
yes.
I mean, really, it's like Jesus, and then Tim Gunn. I mean, it's
So
Jesus is higher, but it's close.
But you know what? Tim Gunn makes it work.
He does.
So let's talk about reality television, because that brings up another show that perhaps because I was so surprised by how much I liked it, I decided to keep watching it. This is my example of that. I started watching it almost on a dare because the reviews were astonishingly good. And I was like, what? Okay. I'll give it a shot. And it wasn't necessarily better than I expected, although that was part of it. It's that it was totally different. And that is the show Beauty and the Geek, which I maintain.
Oh, you love this show.
It is my favorite reality show of all time. And the secret is this, and I know I've told you this, Phil, but Second Breakfast Nation, if you have not,
tell the nation.
Second Breakfast Nation, here is the secret. It is not a dating show. That's it. Full stop. It's not a dating show. It is now. It's got a fairly familiar reality TV show conceit, which is putting people who don't know each other in a house together and making them live together. And so, are there occasional romances that develop? Sure.
That's all I wanted to know. Every once in a while, a geek actually dates a beauty.
It depends on what you mean by dates. I don't mean that in a dirty way.
Makes love?
I don't mean that in a dirty way. I just has a crush and then they deal with it. Or
does making love sound dirty to you, Andy? It sounds beautiful to me. It sounds like something given by God.
You are the worst person I know.
What I love is if the people on audio would think that there was actually like a problem with their podcast because you were too busy giving me a death stare to actually say anything.
That was the end of The Sopranos.
I don't want to watch a show about geeks and hot people unless every once in a while one of the geeks scores. And that's who I am. If that makes me a shallow person.
Once in a while, one of the geeks scores.
Okay.
But I will say this. At least once a season, I would find myself crying because of like some breakthrough that one of the people had, whether it's a geek being self-confident or whether it's a beauty realizing that, you know, because these beauties, and they are all unbelievably gorgeous.
I like that.
It is so clear they're not dumb. Not all of them are smart, but they aren't dumb. And the thing is, it is so clear that what all of them have in common is not intelligence level. It's they have never, ever, ever been called on for anything other than their looks. I won't even say for their brains. And like the first episode that I watched had all of that in it. It had all of it in it. And
That's
so
cool.
it was what I expected was a dating show.
Right.
And it was so different that I was like, I have to tune in next week. I have to see.
So what you're
where
saying is
goes.
this is a show that you decided to watch just because enough people were just like, for the love of God, watch this show.
And when I say enough, you're absolutely right. But to clarify, enough people, I read like 5 reviews that were like, it's the best. Either it's the best new show of the season or it's the best reality show that we've seen so far.
But it's not on anymore, right?
No, it's not. Although it is on in Australia. And yes, I do keep up with Beauty and the Geek Australia. Yeah.
My favorite thing about you is everything, Andy. It really is. It's my favorite thing about you. You never cease to amaze me. Are there other shows that you liked / loved and gave up on? And then if you say no, then I want to know, are there shows that you didn't give up on and you're like, how have I not given up on this yet, and you still hold on?
Well, again, my answer to that one is How I Met Your Mother. For the other one, you talk for a while because I need to think about that question.
I mean, the two that the biggest one that I gave up on was The Simpsons, and
Sure.
it burns a hole in my heart.
Right.
That cannot be corrected with surgery. And then I'd say, and then How I Met Your Mother. I gave up on How I Met Your Mother. I gave up on I gave up on Bones by accident.
Okay.
My wife is still angry. I just got a dirty look. I've gotten dirty looks from you and my wife in the same 5 minutes. The two loves of my life have both shot me down in the past 2 minutes. We were watching Bones. I watched it religiously.
Okay.
I love the show. It's not a great show.
Sure.
It was a show that I would routinely be like, this is ridiculous. And I would watch it every single week and loved watching it. It was also a show, a friend Emily and I, we became friends watching it together, and we would order Chinese food and watch it, and then every single time this would happen, we'd sit down, we'd start eating, and the very first shot of Bones is always like some dissolved corpse. And every single time we'd be like, why are we eating?
Doing to ourselves?
And we'd forget, and the next week we'd be like, well, why? Oh. What happened was my wife and I moved, and I either didn't have cable right away or something, and weren't taping, and we didn't tape like the first 3 episodes of a season, and it was like
It was just too much.
Well, and it was like they had left off with this big cliffhanger. It was this episode where like the end of the season was like he's going back off into like Iraq or something, and she's going off for a year and some other thing, and you're like, I guess they're never going to get together. He's confessed his love to her, which I really don't care about spoilers with Bones at all. But this relationship, which always the tension between these two characters. Have you ever watched Bones?
I've seen some episodes. Yeah.
Okay. The romantic tension, the tension between David Boreanaz and Emily Deschanel is phenomenal. Their chemistry is amazing, and it lifts the show up. It elevates the show. It almost elevates the show. And
bite your tongue.
I know. I apologize. And it got really to this great place. And then I didn't see the first 4 episodes of that season. And then I was like, well, we'll just wait until they're on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't.
Sure.
And then the next season. And now I don't even know if it's still on anymore.
It is still on?
Okay. I am interested actually in catching up because I never hated it.
Right.
But as far as shows that I actually gave up, like said, I am done with this.
Yeah.
It's How I Met Your Mother. It's The Simpsons. Those are the shows that I loved and gave up on. I really liked Person of Interest.
Uh-huh.
And then I haven't really given up on it, but I don't watch it every single week, which is kind of like giving up on something, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you-
Yes. I mean, yeah.
For me, with DVR,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I think I've given up on Homeland, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I have given up on Homeland. I have. I didn't even watch. We got to the end of the first season, and I was like, oh, that was really good. And the second season started, and I was like, I just can't.
Yep.
And I can't even pinpoint why.
I had the entire second season on DVD or on DVR, and then I recently was just like, nah, not gonna ever watch this. And then I gave up on Nurse Jackie, but I would pick that back up again.
Okay.
I would. The show that I didn't give up on, and I
that you should have.
Well, my How I Met Your Mother is The Office, and I think that's
right.
true. And I think that's true for a lot of people.
I think you're right about that.
I think there's a lot of people who are like, please.
Right. So I have some
now it's
answers
done.
for you now. I have some answers for you now. In addition to what I already said.
Sure.
And by what I've already said, I mean Homeland. The Killing on AMC.
Yep.
I was like 2/3 of the way through the first season. I was like, oh, I am just holding on to find out who killed Rosie. What's her name?
Sure.
And then they didn't answer it.
Oh.
At the end of the first season, and I was
Really?
like, well, I was like a lot of things, Phil, but I can't say any of what I said on this family podcast. So there's that. But two that you, I think, will find interesting. I had your house experience. Like, yeah, I'm going to give up, and then I came back, and it was fine. I had that with Lost.
Oh, okay.
Seasons 2 and 3, I watched only sparingly, because if I had to deal with another episode surrounding Bai Ling's character or Jack's tattoos.
There was only one episode like that. That
I
was
understand.
one episode.
I
Okay.
understand, but that's the touch point.
Okay.
Or Paolo and Nikki.
Again, only one episode, but okay.
I understand that, but when every episode almost is an episode that makes you annoyed in another way,
It's
what are
legit.
you gonna do? You know, like, I mean, right? I was only annoyed by Paolo and Nikki in one episode,
Sure.
but, and I just had this feeling, and this was around the time I was getting into things like, the British version of The Office and
Right.
Spaced and British TV, and I'm not going to be one of those guys that is like, oh, British television is so much better because blah, blah, blah. But one thing that I do think is interesting, and I especially think it's interesting now because American television is aping it, is how they would do defined runs of shows.
Yep.
Now, we're still doing,
Yes.
we're still doing, Under the Dome is going to run for 18 seasons, even though it should have been a 13-part miniseries, and that's it.
Right.
But it's only 13 episodes a season.
Right.
Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, and it started with I guess it started with The Sopranos. In terms of like starting a trend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when Lost came back between the third and fourth season, when they said they're going to be 48 more episodes, 16 episodes in a season, that's it.
Yep.
I was like, oh, is it possible they're not just treading water and they have a plan?
Right.
And we can debate whether or not they did. I say
Right.
they did.
Oh yeah.
But
I am again, and this is another I loved Lost.
in the final analysis, I did too. I did too.
I even liked the last episode, and I don't really care what anyone has to say about it.
I did too.
Cried like a baby.
Me too.
Cried like in the words of Dean Martin, cried like a baby with a busted balloon. Just
Indeed.
let out a wail that could be heard at the moon. I think Lost I think what the thing is, there's certain shows, here's the deal, right? Certain shows win you.
Yep.
And Lost, first of all, started off so strong.
Yep.
But then what was really interesting to me was what happened was, even when the show started to wander, those were episodes where what happened was a lot of times the actors started to find their footing. And so, for instance, what's the name of not the main guy, but Sawyer? Is it Josh Lucas? Isn't that his name? Isn't it Josh?
No, Josh Lucas was the bad guy in the original Hulk.
I'm sorry for saying that.
Josh,
It is Josh something though.
Yes, go for it. You keep talking.
Josh Holloway. Josh
thank you.
Holloway.
Yeah.
I thought in the first season that he was one of the worst actors I'd ever seen.
Sure.
And he was one of the best actors on the show by the end of the season. And one of the best actors on television.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
and that's amazing. Like that's amazing. And my favorite actors in that show were there were moments when it was like Friday Night Lights in the sense of like my favorite actor on the show is whoever this show is focusing on this time.
Right.
I
Yes.
mean, Saeed was just a phenomenal guy, phenomenal actor.
Yep.
Phenomenal actor.
Yes.
And I loved Locke, and so what happened was people were, would it be great if they had answered all these things and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. All I know is I fell in love with the characters and I thought they did the characters service.
Yes.
They did the characters good turns. And they knew how to hang a cliff. You know,
that's
like
true.
nobody's business. Like
That's true.
nobody's business. They were the best at being like, the call was from on the island, lost. The season
Not Penny's boat.
right, not Penny's boat.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
so yeah.
So my last show that I want to bring up, and this might stun you, although you might be expecting it because it was, I believe I stopped watching it because of a shift in my sense of humor that we have discussed at various points during this podcast. I loved Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And I stopped watching it at times. I never broke up with it completely. There was never like
Yeah.
a season that I didn't watch an episode. But
Right.
there were seasons that I watched 5 out of
Well-
the 20 something.
Larry David left, and it got considerably less funny.
That may very well be true. That may very well be true.
Go-
I will submit to you again, and I say again that I will give Curb Your Enthusiasm a legitimate shot.
Oh, you
someday.
don't need to like Curb Your Enthusiasm. You don't need to like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Watch the Larry, look at the episodes that in the seasons you don't like on Seinfeld. Like, go up on IMDb and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I am promising you that it is after Larry David left.
I believe you. I believe you.
That it's a considerable and noticeable downturn in quality of show from when he was on it to when he left.
Sure.
The man, it doesn't even matter. I don't care what people feel about Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, what he did on Seinfeld is just one of those things where you just go like, okay, got it.
Right.
But and I get it. I don't expect everyone to like Curb. I like things that there's just some people not going to like them. That's part of the deal, you know.
Sure. So let's break it down because I sense we're rambling, although I love the rambling that we're doing.
It's like laser focus for me.
Phil,
Yep.
I know.
Zing.
Oh, Yahtzee. So is there something, or is it completely situational? Is there something that will get you to stop watching a show, or to start watching a show, or to give it that one extra episode shot?
It's a tough. Like I said, I'm overly loyal, so it takes a lot to get me to stop watching.
Right.
The Simpsons literally betrayed and killed my father. I mean, it turned from Anakin to Darth. Like that's
Sure.
what happened.
Sure.
And How I Met Your Mother, I realized when I stopped liking it that it was never quite as good as I thought it was. That I enjoyed it, but I also, it was my first year of seminary. I was away from my fiance. I was living in a dorm again for the first time in 7 years, all by myself. And my friend had the DVDs, and I just plowed through the first season on DVD.
Yeah.
By myself, and
Yep.
it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Great late night companion. You could just watch a bunch of them in a row. Very watchable television. And I think what happened was I gradually realized I didn't like any of the characters. But I didn't realize that right away because they're so talented.
Yeah.
But I maintain, I take Bill Simmons has I consider, I'm going to sound like a total fancy pants here, but a devastating critique, a withering analysis
I can't wait.
of Friends. And if you look up, you can find it. It's back when he was still on page 2 of ESPN.com. Is it what? And this is like a 10 years ago article. But he talks about how he hated the show Friends because it started out so great. And then he goes, and then none of the men acted like real men. They just stopped being real people.
Yeah.
They basically, he said it was like a version, it was like a woman's version of how they wanted men to be. They were all idiots who couldn't put their own shoes on and who basically they were basically like every man in a commercial.
Yeah.
In commercials, men are idiots.
Yep.
Just idiots.
Yep.
And on Friends, they were just idiots, and all they really wanted was a woman to complete them. And one day I was watching How I Met Your Mother, and I was like, so Barney, the womanizer, is really just a womanizer because he just wants the right woman to finally settle him down and get him to be who he really is. And I don't even remember their names anymore. The main character
Ted
is the most, he's a drip.
Yeah.
He's a drip.
It's true.
He literally sits around moping all the time about finding the one when he's in his mid-20s and early 30s, but he mopes about it. He has no fun. He has no fun. He has no fun, and he is no fun. He's not a fun person.
Sure.
And then Jason Segel, who is one of the great comic talents of our generation,
Yes.
plays a character who literally is not attracted to anyone but his wife. That's not a real person. None of these 3 men are real people. They're not real people. They're not men. And it goes even further when Neil Patrick Harris came out of the closet, I was like, isn't it perfect that women can watch him and know that he's a womanizer and secretly know that the guy playing him is gay, so it's okay. There is literally, these are not 3 straight men that I have ever met in my entire life.
Sure.
And then of course just the absolute, but when it got to the point where they wasn't funny, I was like, you know when you realize when something stops being good and then you realize what was wrong with it in the first place?
Sure.
So I realized, I was like, oh, I never related to any of these characters. It was just a really, really well crafted show.
I love everything you just said. And it's just so well stated. You know, a television show, much more than a movie, because it's just over such a protracted length of time. It is the art of keeping 10 plates spinning.
Yep.
And if they are all spinning, you don't necessarily notice that the China pattern is horribly ugly.
It's true.
But as soon as one of them stops spinning and you get a look at the China pattern, you see the flaws. It's true. And I don't say that like I am not particularly picky, and I don't think I'm particularly critical. I love, as we have said numerous times, it's our
thing.
Debt, if you
It's
will.
our thing, man. We love things.
We love things, and we love to love things.
Yeah.
I don't mind if something is, and whatever this means, if it means anything at all, I don't mind if something is objectively not that good, as long as it's enjoyable. If I enjoy it, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know? And enjoyment can take many forms. It can be the movie Role Models, or it can be Beauty and the Geek Australia.
No, totally.
You know, or the movie Ikiru, where I end up sobbing like a baby and sounding like a burned
it can be
seal
something
pup.
Yeah, it can be something fancy and artsy and deep, or it can just be a trifle. I love a trifle.
Yes. And I would urge you, because I agree with what you said, if I can dabble in movies for 20 seconds.
Please.
I would Josh Radnor,
I knew you were going to say this. Go ahead, say it anyway.
The guy who plays Ted.
Yep.
He's directed 2 movies. Neither of them are great, but both of them are either pretty or pretty good. The first one is Happy Thank You More Please.
Yep.
All as one word, and it is precisely as pretentious as that makes it sound. But I enjoyed it. And then Liberal Arts, which co-stars Elizabeth Olsen, so you should absolutely watch it because she is
Isn't he a
Oh,
teacher that
amazing.
falls in love with a student?
No.
Isn't he though?
No.
But isn't he?
Here's the thing, Phil. You're incorrect.
I'm more interested now then.
Good.
It's going to take a lot for me. Like, Josh Radnor has just... I gave him a lot of rope,
And he hung himself with it?
and I feel like he hung himself with it. And he's a talented guy. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think you're... I mean, but when I saw, like, the previews for liberal arts, I was like, wow, another sad sack guy just waiting for... Like, sensitive guy just waiting for the girl. I was
I
like,
won't
I
say
can't
that
take it anymore.
Yes, I won't say that isn't largely his character. But I will say this. The character is not Ted.
And I think I have to decide. I'm not sure. It's not that Josh Radnor is not a talented man. It might just be. You know what it's like? It's like, to me, it's like Madagascar. Not the movie, the place. Okay. By all accounts, Madagascar is a phenomenal place.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
They have the largest cockroaches in the world, and they hiss.
So you're never
I'm-
going there.
I'm never going to Madagascar. And the thing is, it's not in any way an insult to Madagascar. I have a finite time on Earth, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some places I'm not going to get to go. Like, there's some places, many of them in Canada, that I'm never going to go to. And a lot of them in Asia. And many in Africa that I'm never going to go to the Congo. I'm just not going to go there. And I have no lack of respect for the Congo. It's just, I've made my bed. You know, here we are.
The sad thing is,
and it's possible that I'm missing out on Josh Radnor, and it's possible that I'll watch these movies at some point.
sure.
It's just I got a lot of stuff on my DVR, and none of it has Josh Radnor.
I would
guess that's what I'm
recommend
saying.
liberal arts before Happy
Okay.
Thank You More Please. Because of Elizabeth Olsen, because she is
I mean, because Elizabeth Olsen to me is like the anti Josh Radnor at this point. I have vowed to see everything with her in it. So now I might.
You're right.
I don't know what that does. That
She's
scrambles my
good.
mind.
She is so good in everything. So yeah, I mean it's unfortunate. Actually, I'm gonna use your Madagascar analogy and bring it back to television. Watch this.
Please.
Watch this. You know, when we're deciding,
It's going to be
where
about a show
go-
that I don't like. If it's going to be about a show that I love, it's going to hurt me.
No. It's
Go ahead.
it's about TV in general. You know, the unfortunate truth is we're not going to go everywhere on this planet. And so the unfortunate truth is, even if you are the most optimistic and welcoming and open person, functionally what you're doing is looking for reasons not to go someplace. Like, you've got to eliminate some of these places somehow. You have done it with the hissing gigantic cockroaches of Madagascar.
Mm-hmm.
Totally valid. And here's
Thank
the
you.
deal. Even if it weren't valid, it would still be totally valid because you can't go everywhere,
Right.
right? And as the critic Alan Sepinwall said, he is a critic, and there is too much good television for him to watch. So
Yeah.
how are we to watch it? And so
That's right.
I say this, and this might be the last thing I need to say about this particular topic. I don't know if I can't point to one criterion that's like, this is why I watch a show, this is why I stop watching, this is why I keep watching. But I know that I'm a harsher, or shall we say more ruthless critic than I have been in the past. Just because I have to be.
I feel that coming on right now for me.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
I feel myself. I've realized I have a problem with the idea that there's stuff out there that other people are like, this is amazing, and I haven't seen it.
And, you,
I mean,
and,
it's
you, and you're not
pure.
experiencing it.
It's pure ego. It's vanity. But the thing is that there's something inside of me recently that was just like, meh. And I think it was Homeland, and there was another show too. And I was just like, no, I'm just not gonna. But what if people say,
Not gonna do it.
no, I don't care. It's okay.
Yep.
Let them say it. Let them say whatever they want to say.
Yep.
I just don't care. I mean, it was one of those things where, like, I mean, I did it with other. There's things like when Survivor was just immensely popular,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, no, nope.
Right.
I really got into Biggest Loser for a couple of seasons, and then just was like, nope. One time I was watching, and I literally looked to Krista, my wife, and I said, wife. So, wife, I said.
So I says to him, I says.
So I says to my wife, I says to her, I said, Mabel, I says. So I says to her, I says, there is literally not one person on this show that I remotely like as a person. Not counting Jillian. Oof, Jillian. I like the trainers, but the contestants, I was rooting for zero of them.
Wow.
And when you're rooting for zero people who are all basically fighting for their lives because they're so obese, and you're rooting for none of them to actually lose weight.
God.
I know, and I had watched it from the first season I watched this show. I cried every episode.
Nice. Sure.
I also generally ate ice cream while watching these people work out. That's a whole other thing.
God.
But I would watch the show because we've talked about it. The weight thing is a thing for me, and so watching these people really break these barriers and do the thing, I was weeping. And this one season, I was like,
I'm not weeping.
No, and then my wife was like, are we not watching that anymore? Because it wasn't popping up on the DVR. I was like, oh no, I canceled that. She was like, okay. There was a moment where she was like, I'm not sure why you made that decision without me. And then she was like, but it was a decision that was good for everybody. So that was a show that I bailed on. I bailed on South Park.
Did you?
For after the first season, the second season I just felt was retread.
Okay.
And then I got around to seeing the movie when they made the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I still kind of wasn't watching it. And then my older brother...
When was that in terms of the seasons?
1999. It was probably either after the second or after the third season.
Okay, so really early on. I guess I didn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. And then my brother was like, so anyway, last week on South Park, and I was like, you're watching South Park? And he's like, oh my gosh, are you seriously not watching it? And I was like, no. And he told me about this episode called Cripple Fight, where the two crippled kids, Timmy and Jimmy, literally get into a physical fight and starts describing it, and Cartman is yelling, "Cripple fight!" And I was in college, and I was like, how have I missed this? And I've been back ever since. I've never given up. They have me. I'm shocked when people talk about best shows on TV and don't bring up.
Sure.
Don't bring up South Park. But anyways, so that I gave up on talk shows, late night shows.
Oh, okay, sure.
I kept trying. I used to think I was a Letterman fan, and I'm up. I'm done.
Yeah.
The closest really is Jimmy Kimmel at this point. He does amazing things.
Sure.
He trolls people he is the king. The stuff that he does, the whole thing where the girl was twerking against the door, and then someone opened the door and she fell down and broke and caught herself on fire. You saw that video,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And then you found out a week later that it was completely a setup.
Yes.
Have you seen the things that Kimmel does where they do the on the street interviews where they ask people questions?
Yes.
They did one recently which was politically pointed but fantastic, where they asked people how they felt about Obamacare and how they felt about the Affordable Care Act,
right?
Which is the exact same thing. And people were like, "Oh, I like this one. Oh, I don't like that one. This one's socialist, but this one's okay." And it was the same thing. But they did one a year ago at the Coachella Festival where someone just came around and was making up names of bands and had been like, have you seen this band? And they're like, yeah, they were amazing. No, you got to see them live. There's nothing. Their live stuff is way better than their albums. And the interview was literally making up band names. Jimmy Kimmel.
He gets you.
But I still don't watch him regularly. I don't watch any of that stuff regularly.
I've never been a late night talk show guy, which is, I mean, I guess it's weird because I feel like everybody is at some point.
No.
But I mean, I don't know.
And I gave up on SNL in the 90s and had never looked back.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes.
Pretty sure the last time I was watching SNL regularly, Phil Hartman was on it. So just think about that for a second.
Right.
I think we've exhausted the TV dinner topic for now.
I think so.
We'll be back in a month.
That's
so many things.
It's true.
And maybe we'll have some actual new shows to talk about.
I hope so.
I'll keep checking in on you and How I Met Your Mother.
Please do. Please do.
So, but I think it's time to. It is Friday, Andy.
It's time for the mailbag.
Oh my gosh, mailbag!
I'm so excited. So,
Ask me a question.
and I'll tell you no lies. No. Question number 1, which might be our only question. I don't know. It's a TV-themed question.
I love it.
From Rod Bigner.
Yes.
Rod Bigner.
Rod's our friend who runs a movie theater.
So
Literally bought a movie theater and runs it.
awesome.
Love this guy.
Hi, Andy and Phil. Rod the
Hi,
Movie
Rod.
Geek from Albany, Oregon here. I just had HD satellite service installed in our single-screen neighborhood movie theater. We were hoping to engage the community in watching important and or interesting television content together. We're planning this is a couple weeks old, Breaking Bad finale party on September 29th where we view the final episode on the big screen. Obviously, we've got local football and the Super Bowl, although legally we can't call it the Super Bowl. Hilarious. But I was wondering if you might consider what television content would be interesting to view in a group of others who are also passionate about what's on.
Okay.
Thanks, Rod Bigner. Wait for it. P.S. Thanks for the podcast. Love to listen to them as I deconstruct and prepare our 35mm film for shipping late on Thursday nights. Well done. I don't know you, Rod Bigner, but now I feel like I do, and I'm glad to know you.
You couldn't have gotten to my heart more directly if you were an open heart surgeon.
It's true.
Seriously, like that was surgical precision with which you cut right to the core of us with your little listening to your podcast while working on the 30. Jeez, come on, Rod. That being said, I am going to mock you a little bit, Rod. Important television? Come on, stop. Like, there's no such thing. Let's just right there. The whole point of television is it's not important. Okay, there's things that we love. You could show baseball. That's important. But that being said, you hit the nail on the head with Breaking Bad. When Mad Men comes back, my friend, you need to have a Mad Men watch viewing party, and you have I know you have a liquor license, so you can do martinis, and you got to have everyone dress up. I mean, that's easy. Everyone's dressing up in period costumes and getting ready for Mad Men. People are going to love that. They're going to eat that stuff up. You know, that's the kind of thing that I would say right off the bat, like you do a Mad Men one. Walking Dead's coming up. I mean, any of the shows that like are cult shows right now that everyone loves. You just like, but not everyone, right? That like a very specific crew likes. You're not going to do Modern Family. The most popular comedy on television, you're not going to do that.
Right.
You need to stick to shows that have a specific fanatical fan base. And right now, that's Mad Men and Walking Dead because Breaking Bad's gone. What other ones am I forgetting, Andy?
I don't know, but here's a niche that you might consider, Rod. The TV shows that, again, and I think it's important. What Phil says, Phil, what you say is absolutely right. It can't be a show that everybody loves.
Nah.
It almost can't be a show that everybody knows about, because the same thing that makes people feel I know about this and that's awesome is going to get them not watching it in front of their television show, but getting them to watch it, Rod, in one of your seats.
That's right.
So what I might suggest is either like once a week if you can, or take a weekend and do like a marathon type thing. Shows that were canceled really early and people feel canceled before their time.
A Freaks and Geeks movie marathon would be amazing.
Freaks and Geeks, and I
amazing idea.
These are all shows that I very much like, but I do not say that because I like them. I say that because they fit this mold. Freaks and Geeks, Firefly, Pushing Daisies.
I got one.
Tell me.
I have never watched it.
Tell me.
Battlestar Galactica.
Here's the problem. That would take forever.
Why?
Because it's many episodes.
Okay. But I mean, do it over a year. Like
yes. No, that's absolutely right. But here's the problem with that. And here's the problem with that. You don't want to alienate part of your customer base, right? So if it's a show, for example, there was a show Wonder Falls that I think had aired 14 episodes. I love it. I have all of them on DVD because I'm that guy.
I would almost go ahead. Continue.
But if you come in episode 4,
yeah, You're not going to watch.
That's a
Right.
significant percentage, but it's just 4 episodes in. I'll watch the last 10 of Wonder
Right.
Falls.
Right.
But if you come in, 25-30% of the way into Battlestar Galactica, you're like, what is going on? Why are
It's a
there...
fair point.
You know?
It's a fair point. That is a very fair point. I think I want to say that your good idea needs to wait.
Okay.
And here's why.
Tell me.
I think you need to do shows that are still on the air so that people, if they can't make it, still have an avenue to watch it.
Okay.
And
Well
what
said.
Rod, I think, and his wife Denise are trying to do is build a community base.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is once, and I mean 2 years down the line maybe, once you've established a base community of people, and I mean where that there's 50 people who are in, no matter what are in. There's going to have more that are going to show up, but there's 50 that are your people. You go all right, when this season ends, we're going to pick a show for we want to do another show, and know that you have people that are going to show up for it. I don't know that you could build a community with Freaks and Geeks, but I think once you had a community in existence, you could start picking shows and it would be really fun, I guess is what I want to say.
I love that. There's an independent movie theater here in Durham called the Carolina Theater, and they've done it a little less this summer, but they still did it a little bit. During the summer, it's an art house movie theater, right? During the summer, they're not showing things like Pacific Rim, right?
Right.
So how do they get people to their... And studios aren't releasing that stuff. I mean, yes, Before Midnight got released as counter-programming, and the Carolina showed it, but they can't... But they have 4 screens, and they can't sustain it. And even though you only have 1, I think it might be a nice model. So what they do is they have Hitchcock Week,
Right.
and they do things like the Escapism Film Festival, where they show the Back to the Future movies and Gremlins 2 and Big Trouble in Little China. And there is no reason you couldn't do that with television, especially if you did something along the lines of at least, and I wouldn't suggest this be the only thing you do, but there are famous television, not just famous television shows, but famous television episodes. Is it Chuckles the Clown episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show? The Thanksgiving turkey drop of WKRP in Cincinnati? The finale of the Bob Newhart Show? There are famous...
The Bicycle Shop episode of Different Strokes. No, don't do it. Don't.
No. The finale of MASH. I think pilots and season and series finales would be a great place to sort of start. Although most of those I don't think are either. Most of the ones I just listed are not either season beginnings or endings. But things like that, and just do like a Saturday afternoon, like a 5-hour block.
Right.
I really think you'd get success with that, and that
interesting.
That's
interesting.
As one of your offerings, and I think that might be a way to get people thinking about television as a thing you watch at your place.
I mean, it sounds by the fact that they did Breaking Bad season or series finale, you get the idea, which is you got to pick the things that people think of as appointment television.
Yes.
I mean. And I don't know how far you're willing to go with that.
Right.
Game of Thrones, but are you going to show something that explicit? Maybe you will. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's fine.
Right.
But you want to pick things like that it's that the thing about Breaking Bad was for those people who watched it, you knew not only that they were going to watch it, but almost definitely they were going to watch it that night.
Yes.
That's your goal. That's your
very
goal.
well said.
Right now, it's Mad Men and Walking Dead. Those are your two. That's what I would say. But I think it doesn't. I mean, and Game of Thrones when it comes back on. But again, I don't know if you want to go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tricky. It's tricky. Yeah, I think that's all. I think that's not only my answer for now, but I think I'm out of juice. I think we've exhausted our lives.
Phil, Whether or
Yeah.
not that's true, I think I'm just exhausted.
You
know?
look a little tired.
A little peaked.
If I could reach through the screen and smack you around and tell you to wake up for the ending, I would do it.
I didn't like the ending. Okay. Whoa, God. Ugh. Why did I just quote Moulin Rouge? I hate that movie. Ugh.
Before we, I hate that movie too, and I didn't even know that that's what you were quoting. I love that we both hate Baz Luhrmann, so we don't even have to deal with it. Like, I love that that's not a place where we have to fight.
Yes.
There's other places where we straight up disagree.
It's true.
I'm glad that's not one of them.
Right. Yes.
Before we go,
Please.
the guy who, his name is, I believe, Kamal, who was in the Wes Anderson movies.
Kumar Palana.
Kumar Palana, who played Pagoda in the Royal Tenenbaums.
And Mr. Little
Mr.
Jeans. And...
Mr. Little Jeans. Best
What'd you
play
think?
ever, man.
What'd you think, Mr. Little Jeans?
Best play ever, man. He died like yesterday, and and he was a Texan, Andy. He was a Texan.
Well, Wes Anderson. I mean,
Right. What a special presence in Wes Anderson movies, and so we bid a fond farewell to you, sir. And it's not really that sad. You're really old. I was reading something the other day. There's someone sent like an email. My old school sends out emails when people from the community die, and they're like, "It is with a heavy heart that we note the passing of this person who died peacefully in his sleep at the age of like 80 something." And I'm like, "What is the heavy heart for then?" Like,
right.
I'm over it. Like,
sure,
I'm over it. If you're in your 80s and you die peacefully in your sleep, no more heavy hearts here. Good work, you did it. Well done, good and faithful servant. Have a nice rest. Like, no heavy hearts here.
Agreed.
We're calling it a day.
Agreed.
So,
yes.
Anyway, I also, whenever people die and they like try to tell us why they died and they were really old, do you remember when we were younger, people died of something called natural causes?
Yes.
Nobody dies of that anymore.
That's true. That's an excellent point.
We have to know exactly what they died of.
Right.
People used to just die. Now it's like, you got this thing and it killed you. It's
right.
They
died of not being alive anymore.
They died of being really old.
Yeah,
that's true. Like, I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. It's a fair point.
I'm glad we got to know that guy on the screen.
Me too. Because I feel like I do know him. Right? This was not Daniel Day-Lewis disguising himself in a role.
Damn it, Pagoda! That's the last time you cut me. I want to watch Tenenbaums for that guy right now. Yeah. All right. Anyways, you know what? Everybody should have a great weekend and join us next week. We've got a couple of really exciting things coming up.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
The return of the very long gone Mel Gibson Project Melway. Oh wait a minute.
Oh wait.
It's gone for literally a minute.
Oh wait. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait.
I'm not. Folks, Phil has already seen Machete Kills. I have not. Yep. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm just not.
Andy, you shouldn't look forward to it.
The things we do for you, Second Breakfast Nation.
Things we do for you, Mel Gibson.
And what we're going to do now is Phil and I are going to turn off the Skyping machine and we're going to go to bed. So,
that's it.
That'll bring us to the end of another week of Second Breakfast Podcast.
Separately.
Yeah. That you know of. For Second Breakfast, I am Andy Roth and that is Phil Duvall. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
The most important meal of the day, Second Breakfast.